US Special Envoy for Afghanistan says the current round of negotiations with the Taliban have been the most productive so far. Zalmay Khalilzad has been speaking to Al Jazeera following the 7th round of talks in Doha aimed at ending the 18-year war in Afghanistan. Now, on Sunday, Taliban delegates will meet rival Afghans. Dozens of high-profile figures and activists are attending the talks, but none of them are officially representing the government, as the Taliban have refused to deal directly with the Western-backed government in Kabul. Well, Al Jazeera's Charlotte Bellis sat down with the US peace envoy right here in Doha.
This week is the 7th round of talks. How do you feel about the progress between yourselves and the Taliban so far?
Very good. This has been the best round so far.
Can you put a percentage number on the progress you've made this week?
I'd rather not do that. I would rather say we have made substantive progress on all 4 elements, and that make the framework that we have agreed to for a peace agreement, which is, as you know, assurances on counterterrorism. That's important for the United States and the world. Withdrawal of foreign troops, which is important for the Taliban. Inter-Afghan negotiations, including a dialogue and an agreement on a roadmap for the political future of Afghanistan, and a complete, comprehensive, permanent ceasefire. For the first time, I can say we have had substantive progress on all 4.
If you find out that the Taliban aren't policing some of these armed groups and that potentially Al-Qaeda is still operating inside Afghanistan, what can you do at that point?
They know that that's our red line. They understand that, and they have said that they will satisfy us on that, and it will have to be verifications. I have worked for Ronald Reagan, and trust but verify, so there will have to be verifications of with regard to the commitments that are made. So we will not be satisfied until we have all that, and I can report to you that we have very substantial progress on that.
Do you believe that the political arm here in Doha actually has the power to command the Taliban back in Afghanistan, all 60-something thousand fighters?
Well, we won't know that for sure, that's the case, that the Talib here can speak on behalf of every Talib all over Afghanistan. But I do believe that they are the authoritative representative of the leadership of the Taliban, meaning the Quetta Shura, the leadership Shura, that they are authoritative. And whether all Talibs follow what they agree or not, they make the point that they are quite united, and what the leadership decides, everyone follows. We will have to see. I do think that when the big ceasefire, not this last year, the year before was announced, there was peace and quiet all over Afghanistan. So that gives one some degree of confidence that what the leadership decides would be followed, but there are no guarantees, and we will have to wait and see what happens. First, we need to get an agreement, and then to see whether they follow it. But they understand what the consequences of not following and the agreement that they make are. If they don't honor what they have agreed to do, then we're free to do what we want.
The violence has increased in Afghanistan this week. It's almost like the prospect of peace is fueling the war. What's it like watching that from here?
Well, I don't know whether this week has been the worst. There have been horrible weeks before, but we haven't reached an agreement. We are both talking and fighting at the same time. We're in a new phase, and we're looking forward to the phase when the fighting stops and a ceasefire takes place. It may take a period to get to that. We're looking to a reduction in violence leading to a ceasefire, but we have an understanding also on that in the modalities that can lead us from where we are to a permanent, comprehensive ceasefire.
What kind of guarantees can you give to the Afghan people that a lot of the achievements that they've seen with freedom of press and women's rights over the last 20 years will be retained in a new political system that involves the Taliban?
The Talibs I don't know whether they know this new Afghanistan. It has changed. I often mention to them that how long has it been since a particular Taliban member has been to Kabul? And some of them get angry with me for asking the question because they assume that I know how long it has been since we came to Afghanistan. But it's not the Kabul of 19 years ago. It's not Afghanistan of 19 years ago. Afghanistan as an old country, but a young nation, or an old nation made of young people. They need to learn about each other. The Taliban say they have changed. Other Afghans need to know this new Taliban to see what has changed, and the Talibans need to know what this new Afghanistan is like and reach some broader understanding, mutual acceptance. The terms of an agreement about the future will be negotiated in the intra-Afghan negotiations, but I believe this is a necessary first step, so I'm delighted that it's taking place.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has said that he wants to see a deal done by September the 1st. You've got elections in Afghanistan on September the 28th. Are you feeling the crunch time-wise?
We understand that elections are scheduled for the 28th, but for us, peace and the peace agreement is more important. That's the number one policy agenda, and what comes out of the peace process will dominate.